Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. I think you just heard the opening bell sound there. The markets are officially opening. Futures were all pointing to the upside for all of the indexes. I think that's the first day in a little while, at least in the last several, that we've had futures all pointing to the upside, anywhere from a third to three-quarters of a percent, depending on which of the indexes you were looking specifically at. As the market is open and now, and keep in mind, been open for a whole whopping 30 seconds, but the Dow Jones up about 190, S&P up almost 30, NASDAQ up about 177. Those are all, I would say, somewhat in line with what futures suggested they were going to be. I'm looking at my list of open spread trades and collar trades, and I see Amazon trading to the upside, Google trading to the upside, JP Morgan up a little bit. Well, actually just gone flat now, but now down 20 cents, but pretty flat. Nvidia up a little bit, Palantir up a little bit, Red Cat open a little bit or up a little bit, and SanDisk trying to claw back some of what it gave up yesterday. SanDisk up almost 4%, three and three quarters of a percent. Amazon, Google, you've got about a 0.5% of movement there. So everything trading to the upside. I think it's just a little bit of bargain shopping ahead of two big things tomorrow. One of them we talked about yesterday, which was the Nvidia report that will come out tomorrow after the market closes. But you've also got tomorrow GDP and PCE. The PCE being people say over and over again, it's the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. What's funny is I don't know if I've ever heard someone from the Fed. I'm not saying they haven't said this, but I don't know if I've ever heard someone from the Fed say this is the gauge we look at most carefully for measuring inflation. Maybe they have said that. Maybe there are certain Fed chairs that have said that. But I know they look at CPI, they look at PPI, they look at jobs reports, unemployment reports. I think the Fed looks at a lot of things. This may be the one that they zero in on a little bit for inflation. And if things come in tomorrow close to what the consensus is, it would show no change from month to month and no change in personal income. It would show we got a surprise minus 1% for the month over month last month. They're expecting that to be up to a 0.1%, which is really not bad. That's not a bad inflation mark if you just consider it in its simplest terms. But it'll be interesting to see whether we come in about where everyone is expecting we're going to come in. We'll see if that happens or not. And then you combine that tomorrow with whatever goes on with Nvidia. And it's not just Nvidia. Tomorrow, for earnings, after the market closes, you've got Nvidia, you've got Salesforce, you've got Crowdstrike. Those are all big. Those are all big in their own respect. Crowdstrike is one that I think is going to move really big to the upside or the downside. We'll just have to wait and see what it does. But I think it's going to move big, and I think it has the ability to move some other things with it. But Nvidia is the behemoth that everyone's looking at, and it doesn't matter who you listen to. If you listen to different analysts, if you kind of tune in and pay attention to what they're saying, there seems to be something of a consensus that a lot of people think Nvidia is going to break records with their revenue, with their profit, their top and bottom line earnings per share. All of it's going to just absolutely crush the expectations. And most of these same analysts are still saying it's probably not going to be enough to satisfy the investment community and push this thing up. And I think that's too bad. I think it's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of the law of diminishing returns, or the law of big numbers. The bigger a number gets, the harder it is to double that number. when Nvidia was only $100 billion company. Doubling it to 200 billion was a much easier feat than when it's a $3 or $4 trillion company, and you're looking at a way to double that. So that's kind of what Nvidia is up against, is just how challenging it can be to move the needle on a company that is already this big. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out tomorrow. Yesterday we got into a couple of new trades. We opened a new trade on Nvidia, a long iron condor. Something that I think is very easily going to take advantage of whatever Nvidia does when they report tomorrow. We've got the August 28th options. We've got the 212.50, 215 bull call, and the 207.50, 205 bear put, both expiring at the end of this week. And I think Nvidia will so easily move outside the range one direction or the other on those. If you did not get into that trade yesterday, you could easily get into the trade today. I think we were looking to get in at $2 to maybe as high as 205. I show the mid price at $2 right now as we speak. I'm actually going to see if I can add a contract or two right at $2, no more than that, because I think that's still one that we could get into. You might even be able to get 198, 199 on that one if you tried. And then we got into a new trade either yesterday or this morning. If you didn't get into it yesterday, you should be able to get into it this morning because it's down a few pennies from where it was yesterday. But we've got a long iron condor on JP Morgan. This one does not have an earnings report as a catalyst like we oftentimes do. I just think JP Morgan is sitting in a spot right now where over a nearly 4-week period of time, it is just going to be so incredibly easy for it to move back up here or back down here. It doesn't have to move a long way in either direction to get us profitable in this trade. And I think, look, I like that it's flat right now, because if it stays flat even for a week or two, I think it just increases the chance that it really pops strong one direction or the other. It is one that could honestly move a lot with the report tomorrow. You could see a big move one direction or the other with tomorrow's report on the PCE numbers specifically. So I got into some shares for $2 and a penny yesterday on my trade. I show the mid price right now at 195. So if you didn't see it until the Signal newsletter went out last night, it should be an easy one to still get into, because at 195, you get in a little bit better than what I did. In fact, right now, as we speak, I'm trying to get into a couple more contracts of this one and setting a limit order up for 197, just giving the broker a couple of pennies of wiggle room there. And see if that gets filled. So that's where we're at going into our Tuesday. I am working on some more triple play trades. I'd like to get one or two more open trades going in our portfolio. We'll see if we have the ability to do that. I'm looking at some things. I tried yesterday to get trades open on Crowdstrike. Palo Alto Network, just could not get them to fill, but I'm going to try again on both of those. Because I think they're both potentially really good trades to be in. I'm trying to, it seems like I'm forgetting. It seems like there was one other we might have tried. Oh, Marvell. Marvell was the other one. They report on Thursday after the market closes. So I'm going to look at all three of those again and see if one or two or three of those, maybe at some slightly different strike prices, but see if any of those give us an opportunity to possibly get in there. So I'll work on that a little bit. The mid price on JP Morgan now is 190, 187.50 on that long iron condor, and I can't get mine to fill for some extra contracts right now. I'm only trying to add 2 more contracts. Would love to see that happen, but not happening so far. I'll keep you posted, but that's where we're at. I think there'll be more to talk about tomorrow morning with the PCE numbers having broke before we get online. And then, any other trades that we might be able to open and get into before the day is over today. So I'm going to wrap up with a short podcast today. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you back here tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.